Welcome back to Purpose Designer. I'm Karthik Kapila and I'll be guiding you today how to manage your interior designing expenses effectively. So, first of all, we need to understand which are the major, categories that you are spending when you're getting interior design renovation done. And that basically can be done graphically. I'll show you how it can be, managed in the best way possible. So, normally when you're doing any kind of interior works, whether it's residential or commercial, the entire space can be expenses can be divided into three different categories. So first one, which is the services, basically this includes things like architectural or any kind of interior design services that you hired somebody to do for yourself. And then comes the materials, right? Materials is also a big chunk of expenses that you will have, and this will, it's quite obvious, this will include the furniture elements, this will include lighting, this will include things that are visible, and this will include things that are not visible. Say for example, there is plumbing which is going behind the wall, or there is some kind of civil work that is part of the entire process. That is also something which is going to be included in this material list. So this is the second expense that we have, material. And then comes the one and the most important one, and that is the contractual services, which includes all the labor costs and all the things that are done by the contractor that you hired. And this is going to include whether it's some kind of electrical work, some kind of plumbing work, some kind of ceiling job, tiling, anything that's related in your interiors or even in your exteriors of the house, whether it's landscaping or some solar panels that you require or water treatment that you require. All of these are going to have contractual costs associated with them. So now the question arises that even if we come to know that these are three different categories, one is being services, then there is material, then there is contractual, how do you manage your expenses in the best way possible? The best way to do is to understand what is your priority. First of all, you'll need to know what kind of look that you want, what kind of aesthetics you are aiming for. The main challenge that I have seen people facing is that people think that to select a particular look can affect their budget in a lot of ways. In some cases, your cost will be affected by the look in case you're going with some material which is available only at a certain price point. In that case, of course, your cost will be affected by the material or the look that you are selecting. But in most cases, what we have noticed that no matter what kind of aesthetics you want, whether you want to go with a mid-century kind of a look, or you want to go with something eclectic, or you want to go with something modern, if you actually compare the per square footage cost, it's not varying very starkly. It basically depends what kind of look you want, because in case you happen to find something which is like say for example, you are having a design which has a lot of extra clear glass. Now extra clear glass is a material which is coming at a certain price point. You will not find that kind of quality in any material apart from that particular material itself. In that case, the cost of the design, the cost of the interior is going to shoot up. And because it's a material which is a specialized material, not just the material cost is going up, but at the same time the execution cost is also going up for the same, because the person who is doing this specialized kind of a job is going to be trained for that. And if the person is trained for specific things, that person has a certification for those things, that person is going to charge more than a regular person who is doing the job. So of course, this is the reason that you need to know that what kind of aesthetics you want for your space, just to you can filter out these materials which are very specialized and costly. So this will give you an idea that, say for example, you are very much wanting something which is very, very exclusive and it has that pricey material or element built into it. Whether it's a particular lighting, if you want to have say RGB lighting is going to cost much more than conventional lighting. So of course you can't expect the regular lighting and the RGB lighting to function at the same way, and obviously the cost is going to be different as well. In that particular case, you will have to be knowing what you are negotiating with yourself, because the most important thing that people forget to do when they are doing any kind of interior job is that people are negotiating with the vendors, with the contractors, with everybody who is involved in the project, but nobody negotiates with themselves. Nobody negotiates that, do I really want this particular material? Do I really want this particular look? And if I do want it, then how much am I willing to spend? That is the most important thing that needs to be done when an interior design budget is being allocated for a space. So you need to know about, first of all, what kind of look that you want, and at the same time you also need to be sure how much you want it and how much you're willing to spend for it. Of course, if that is not the case, you say that okay, budget is a constraint and you don't want to go overboard. In that particular case, in most cases, if you find a reference of, say, a particular image, I'll give you an example. You can take a look at this particular image, and this is a second image. Now both of these two images are having different aesthetics, right? Different price points. But if I told you that both of these results can be achieved in the same budget, that's actually a fact. Because when you see the wall finish in both of the cases, we can achieve the wall finish similar to a wallpaper with the help of a paint as well. It can be done with the help of texture as well, right? At the same point, if you look at materials like paneling, if you look for paneling done on the wall, those can be in very expensive materials, something which is very specialized kind of a material. Or if you're using a specialized kind of veneer on the wall, it's going to cost a lot. So you are achieving a similar result. I'm not saying that the results are identical. The results will be different, because when light will interact with these different materials, how a light will interact with a veneer, and how a light will interact with a tile, and how a light will interact with a wall paint, it will be very different. We can't say that all of these materials are going to be 100% same in the way they look and feel. But it's a negotiation that you're doing with yourself. And that's what I'm saying, that most important it is for you to negotiate with yourself, so that you are clear that how much you are willing to settle for. And once you're clear about that, this material part is something which gets taken care of. And once you have this material part ticked out, then the rest of the things become easier for you. And also, before you start with any kind of thing in your interiors, the first and foremost, the most important thing is you need to have the design for that. So when I'm saying design, I actually mean CAD drawings. I actually mean BOQ, which is a bill of quantity. So you know the number of items that you're requiring for your particular space. A lot of time people make mistakes that they start up with the project thinking that this is going to say cost X amount. But the issue that they face later on is that there are a lot of things that they overlook, right? For us being into this profession for so long, we understand that, if say you're renovating, say an office, there's going to be flooring involved, electrical, networking, lighting, furniture, and some kind of accessorization, things like storage, how you manage the overhead storage, in the pantry area, in the office as well, on the back side of the seating in the office management desks. So there are so many elements. Even if we talk about just furniture, it will have a lot of parameters under it in an office space. In the same case, if you go with a residential project, it will have a lot of elements in each and every space of the house in the furniture category. And this is just the furniture category that we are talking about right now. So what you need to know is, first of all, is the material. Then you need to have the design ready with yourself. These things can happen at parallel, because if you have a professional person, a professional interior designer, a professional architect who is helping you build a dream space, then that person has an experience. You can hold that person accountable for this job, because the person should have the knowledge about all the latest materials in the market, about the price points of those, about the execution costs of those, so that you get the right advice from the person. So this is the basic job that you should expect from the person that you hired, that person is able to give you the right bang for the buck. So this is the two things which I mentioned, which can go in parallel: the material part and then the designing part. Basically services, right? Services, I was telling you, that is going to include the interior designing and architectural part of it. So if you are having any of these people hired, or you have, say, a builder who is helping you with the similar kind of a thing, the builder needs to have the same knowledge. So these two things can happen at the same time in parallel. Once you're done with this job, you have the CAD, you have the BOQ, you have the render, you know what kind of look you're going to get of the space as well. Now, when you have all of these things ready, now you can actually hold the contractor accountable, whichever contractor firm you are hiring, or if your architect is doing the execution job, or your designer is doing the execution job, that person, the contractor that is associated for this particular project, will give you the exact estimate for this space. So ideally, the process of this thing should go in a clockwise fashion. So if I've made this pie chart that you can look at over here, we can start with the services part. And why I'm saying to start with the services is because I'm assuming the person who is watching this video is not a professional builder, is not a professional designer, is not a professional architect. This is somebody who is, say, renovating their office, they've bought a new office, or they've got a new house and they're getting possession soon. So they want to have right guidance about how the space can be managed, how the expenses can be managed. So it should be done in a clockwise way. The first step should be hiring somebody who has more skill than you, who has much more, knowledge about this kind of project. And of course, you need to know that that person has done a similar kind of project. If somebody is specialized in a residential project, maybe that person is not going to do that well in the commercial project, and so is the other way around. But of course, if you have somebody who is having an experience in a particular project, that person will guide you better. So that will be the first place to begin with. This person, by the time you get to the material level, you will have maximum discussions done at this particular point of time. And that will include the design part, that will include CAD, BOQ, rendering. So you get an idea about what kind of look you're getting and what kind of materials are there and how many materials are required in finishing that entire space. And that's when you get to the next step, which is basically to the contractor. At this particular point of time, when you have all of this information with yourself, there is actually a visual picture in your own mind that this is the result of this project. And I can assure you 100% that, once you and the professional that you hired are on the same page, getting the contractual job done is becoming very, very easy. Because the person who you hired is going to be accountable for all the technical knowledge, and you yourself are having a vision, right? So having this professional help allows you to clarify your own vision in terms of pricing, in terms of look. And once you sit down with the contractor for the estimation done is very accurate. I can tell you that the accuracy is so good that if you have all of the items included in the BOQ, your price will hardly vary by 5 to 10%. That's it. So I would recommend that you follow this process. What we can do is we can also pin a file for you in the description, so you can go through it. You can use that for your own interior projects and see if you find it useful. If you found this video useful, you can share it with somebody who is planning to get interior job done anytime soon. And if you have any feedbacks, do let us know in the comments. And thank you for watching, and see you guys again next time.